Hey everybody, welcome back to American Idol Unaired. I am your host, Bennett Shear, and today's guest is Lucas West. Lucas, welcome to American Idol Unaired.
Thank you for having me, my friend.
Having a lot of fun here, meeting the idols that we did not get a chance to see. And before we even get into Idol, I just want to know about you.
Sure, man. Yeah, well, my name is Lucas West. I'm from Fairport, New York, which is in Rochester. It's upstate New York. I am 17 years old, so I'm still a senior in high school. And I have always been doing music my whole life. I'm a musician. I do piano, trombone, singing, beatboxing, a few things here and there. But yeah, in general, I just love to perform music. It's what I'd like to end up doing. My mom is a music teacher. My father is he was an engineer, but now he actually runs a brewery that makes beer in the village of Fairport. So I grew up around that culture with music, and for my whole life I was pretty much exposed to that, encouraged, and my musical interests were well facilitated by my mom especially, and then they kind of just took off, and here we are.
Here we are. And so can you elaborate more on maybe the style and the influences of the music?
Yeah, I do a bunch of random stuff. Right now I'd say I do a lot. I do everything from like musical theater productions to jazz vocals and rock. Like I have a rock band, my rock band Mars, and then I do like jazz vocals. But I think it's hard. It's hard to say a style. I'd say kind of doing my own thing. Do you know who Jacob Collier is?
Yes.
Yeah. So that just doing his own thing. That's kind of what I like to do because I do a lot of things. It's hard to really do one style, but I kind of like to dabble.
Yeah. I think naming the genre, doing your own thing is a nice way to put it, because we don't really need to define it other than that. I mean, whatever, just listen to Lucas West and you'll hear what you need to hear. I think that's the best way to put it, right? I mean, it's a fusion, I'm sure, of a lot of different influences and sounds and styles. So
The biggest thing is it's subjective, right? All the performing arts are subjective. There's things that are objective, which are like music theory and basic knowledge of music, but when it comes to interest and what you like to do, it's incredibly subjective. You realize what you want to do. You collaborate. You create music with others, and you figure out what works for you, and also what works to put on a good performance. So
yeah. And it is working with others that helps you define what it means to be your own artist and work on your craft and all that. So tell me about your decision to head to Idol. Were you approached? Did you try out yourself? I want to hear about that process.
Sure. So someone actually contacted my voice teacher, and they were looking for people to audition. I think it was one of the producers for the show, like I don't know what kind of producer, but then I was like, you know what, why not? I was a senior in high school. I wasn't expecting anything. So yeah, it was August of 2021. I just did a Zoom audition. I had pretty much this setup right here. I had a bunch of tunes memorized that were like rock and Elton John and that sort of thing, which is a good go-to for me. But yeah, August 2021, I had the Zoom audition. I passed through for the Zoom auditions, and then they said, "Hey, we want you to audition in front of our judges." And then October 2021, I was in Los Angeles to audition for the judges, which was, really great. And we'll get more into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I'm curious, in the initial audition over Zoom, was there feedback, or was it more of a just you're through?
Okay, so there wasn't much feedback. It was I sang for a producer doing the Zoom auditions, and he sent me right to the executive producer after hearing me, and I was like, and then I can't remember her name, but I sang for a lady. She was an executive producer, and then she was the one that really said, "You're in." But in terms of feedback, like you said, the most feedback I think they were working on was song choice. They were looking for more stuff to find myself in, and which was true, and that's a big, huge thing I learned from Idol, which we'll also talk more about, I'm sure. But yeah, they wanted mainly song choice, but other than that, I'm really optimistic, and I was like mind blown. I didn't think this was ever going to happen. Wow. And then it did. So yeah.
Are you waiting around for days, or are you one of the lucky ones that get to go on day one, day two? How long are you there?
Yeah, I was only in Los Angeles for about three days, right about there. So we flew out, and then we filmed, and I got to talk with some amazing contestants throughout the day, and then eventually sing for the judges. And some this is really interesting. You did an interview with Elliot, didn't you?
Yes, Elliot Greer.
Yeah. So funny thing here, he was in Rochester. Do you know the show Once?
Once.
It's like, yeah,
I
it's
think
like
you talked about it maybe.
yeah, it's not musical theater, but it is a theater production.
Yeah, now it's coming back to me. He talked about Once when we were doing the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw them in Rochester at Jiva Theater, which is a local theater in Rochester, and I saw him years ago, and he was on that stage, and I was like a young kid that just like was just starting to like, get some kind of skill at the piano. And I wasn't that good, and then I saw him on stage. Now I didn't get to say hi to him, but I reached out to him, said like great job, whatnot. Fast forward to I guess like August, something like that, or I was in Los Angeles, but I saw his name. I was like, wait, didn't I see him in Once years ago? And yeah, he was in Los Angeles auditioning with me. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm auditioning with the guy I saw on the stage. And we're still friends to this day. We keep in touch. He's living in New York right now, gigging all the time. So
Yeah.
it's just a great guy. But that's a fun little connection there.
Do you enjoy the things that you have to do besides singing, whether it's just, talking to producers or going in the 180 room or wherever it was you were?
Yeah, I had that. Great question. I had no problems with it, but like I was 17 years old. This was like the TV business I knew nothing about. Because again, like take someone like Elliot. He's a seasoned performer. That's what he does, and he has a little bit more, I think, comfortability in that arena there. So it was all a lot to me, but I was still comfortable because I'm like comfortable in front of people and talking to people and whatnot. But it was definitely a lot, and the things besides music, it was very different to me. I was just taking it all in. I was like mind blown here, mind blown there, and the reflection on that. There's different kinds of reflections on that, but it was very fun. It was very fun and very eye opening.
And as far as being in that environment, not only Elliot, but all of these other talented musicians that you got to meet over the course of those 3 days, I mean, what was that experience like to just be surrounded by other musicians?
It was crazy. Very humbling. So where I'm from in Fairport, there's some great singers and great musicians around here. Because I do my own little thing in the performing arts, I guess. And I met all these people that did different styles and came from different places. So yeah, it was crazy meeting all those people. Very humbling though, I think is the right word for it. Because I was just a kid from a small town, not small town, but a smaller town that was 17 years old, and everyone else was like going to Berklee College of Music or something, which is true. Boston Conservatory, whatnot. They came from San Francisco. They're like gigging. They've been on like other shows before, and it's like, I have nothing under my belt, and it was really humbling. So
I feel like though, in some ways, it kind of seems like regardless of the range of experience, years performing, you guys are all kind of in the same position because not only are you all trying out for the same thing, there can only be one American Idol, but you never really know what the judges or even what the producers are really looking for, I feel like. And so you're all kind of going in there not really knowing what to expect, I would imagine.
Yes, absolutely. Especially in my situation, just being very new to all of that and just performing in itself. But yeah, no, it was definitely a lot to take in. You're right. Yeah.
So day 3, you finally get the chance to sing in front of the judges. Around what time do you think? Were you waiting still a long time, early in the day?
Let's say like midday, afternoon.
Okay.
Right about there. Yeah.
So how are you feeling? Are you pumped up? Are you scared? What's going through your mind?
Nervous. I pretty much lost myself when I was auditioning because I put it this way. I saw the judges as these entities I needed approval from. I would not in like a super unhealthy way, but I didn't really understand it as well, and I kind of lost a little of who I was. Like I was trying to think maybe if I like make a joke there, it'll be like funnier. Basically, I didn't have as much ground to stand on as I think I'd hope to think I do now. But yeah, so yeah, day 3 I went in there. I was really really nervous, and I worked out. I was still trying, but even then, usually the music when I'm at the piano singing, the nerves go away. They stuck there when I was there. I still performed fine. I think I don't really remember, but I mean, yeah, it was one of the most nerve wracking things I've ever done, and
Yeah.
I think that I did that to myself because I forgot that the judges are people too, and that's a really big thing I
Yeah.
took away from that. So
It always feels weird asking the question, how are you feeling? Because it's so obvious that you guys are, terrified. But it is interesting because sometimes, like you said, I mean, depending on the environment that you're in, I mean, it's American Idol, it's television, but sometimes as a performer, I imagine that the adrenaline can take over and make the nerves go away. So in some situations, it may not be as nerve wracking, but obviously with American Idol, you've got three celebrities, you've got cameras everywhere, lights everywhere,
yeah,
and a lot's at stake. So I imagine that there's just a lot going through your mind, regardless of how much you love performing.
yeah. There definitely was, and yeah. So the outcome of the audition, I actually did make it through, and it's because of the things they told me that I'd finally like realized um, after the audition was I didn't truly know my style yet. My phrasing could have been better. I just didn't really find my interpretation of the music I was playing. It was good music, and they were good song choices. I'm not going to say what they were, just be extra careful. But it was very important for me to have that no in my life at that point and continue to have no's. That was the first of a series of long no's and no's I'm still going to get because I'm going into the performing arts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really really important part of that too.
So, any particular advice that you would like to share as far as what feedback you got from the performance?
Um, yeah. So like I said, the phrasing, my phrasing, which means it could have been longer, could have been shorter, and maybe like less growl, which is a thing that I've since fixed. But it just those sort of things, technique things I didn't wasn't actively fixing until Katy Perry told me to fix them.
Yeah.
But it's these things that they not only gave me this constructive criticism, which was great, and I've learned from it and will continue to learn from it, but they also just made me realize exactly where I am here. Right, I was a really small fish in a huge pond,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of back home, and I came back home. It took like 2 weeks. I was pretty depressed for like 2 weeks, but that's because I didn't know how to handle this kind of no, because I work really hard. That's the truth. In everything I do, I still work really hard. I wasn't used to working really, really hard on something and not actually being successful in that. But that's only because the things I worked hard in weren't as big picture performing arts things like American Idol. And then, like I continued, I got a wait list from one of my colleges, and then I got some scholarships I didn't make. It was a long series of larger no's that are going to continue to come. And that
Mm-hmm.
was just the first of it, and it took me a while to realize that. But I'm glad I have the mindset now, and I know that I need to continue to have that growth mindset because, like I said, a lot of the time it's no. But the bigger the no's are, the bigger the yeses are. Meaning, if I'm doing in like 5 years, if I'm doing like some kind of like I don't know audition for like Broadway or something, let's say, if I get 5 no's, I might get one yes, right? And I just have to be able to cope with that and have that growth mindset and just continue to beat it into shape because I didn't know how to have one until then. So
Yeah. I think that, what it felt like to get that no, and really all the no's that you mentioned. I mean, with Idol in particular, as you said, you didn't make it past the audition, but even making it to the audition is such a big accomplishment in itself. And I think that you must have already felt like you came so far, which is why it's really difficult to get that no because you can taste it and you're there and you see all the lights and cameras, you see the signs and the wall with all the tickets. And I know I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but I mean
no,
I
you're right.
think
You're
it's
absolutely right. Yeah.
it's just part of the journey, but it's I think it's that discipline because it can be such a emotionally and mentally draining process to be a performer. But when you love it with all of your heart and everything that you do, you can't stop. You can't give up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and along those lines, that's what I kind of thought about. After my audition, a couple hours after, the producer that originally let me through, the very first producer I sang for in August on the Zoom auditions, he told me something after my audition that kind of just continues to stick with me now. He went up to me and said, "Just you being here is a sign that you're on the right path," which rang true, and I continue to remember that to this day. And the most important thing about that is that making it that far at 17 is a sign that I might have what it takes, but I still have to continue working at it. Because being there is a sign that, yes, I think it's possible, but the no's were a sign that, yeah, I'm not ready yet. It just wasn't my time yet. And it's really as simple as that. I just need to find myself and continue to work at this. And it left me more motivated than before. I plan on continuing to audition for some shows like this in the future. Because if I made it that far, then if I continue to work and like develop that growth mindset and everything else that I took away from that, if I just stay true to myself and just keep trying there, it can't hurt, and it's a healthy way for me to approach being in the performing arts. So
yeah, no, it's only up from here. I mean, I think you never forget those little pieces of advice. Like even I think in those moments, like when the producer said that to you after you'd experienced such a low, I mean, I'm wondering, is it admittedly kind of hard, like right then and there, to be like, oh yeah, like, I've got this and I'm going to get back up, or is it tough, right then in the moment?
Absolutely, man. I wasn't lying to myself, but I was trying to put on my happy face, right, and be like, put on the image of someone who has a growth mindset, but deep down I knew that I didn't have it fully developed. But at the same time, it was good that I was being a good sport and like really saying thank you, being grateful, whatnot, because it helped alleviate the disappointment I felt. It took, like I said, a long time for me, and the 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, I really started to kind of think the right way, and then it continues to develop, up until a couple months ago, I'd still wish I wish I made it through on American Idol, but that's because I had learned since then, right? And that's why I wouldn't want to do it now, because I want to continue to do that and show that with the time I can make as much progress as I possibly can, be the best version of myself, and then try something like that again with more ground to stand on. So
yeah, that's so important, because it's like, I mean, there's some people, whether it's American Idol or so many other opportunities, where those rejections, they happen over and over again. And whether it's American Idol or it's another show, or, you find yourself somewhere else that's not a reality singing competition show, you're going to realize one day that all of these no's were worth it. And at the time, it didn't feel like it. But the key is to keep going, as we said before, because you probably learned something from each and every one of those no's. And part of the growth mindset is you can't, just get mad at the people who rejected you. You can't just ignore what happened and say, oh, it was a waste of time, because it wasn't, right? I mean, it was all productive.
You exactly. You went out and said it right there.
Oh. Well, no,
really good. Yeah.
Thank you. No, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's, even for people who weren't as lucky to get as far as you got, because again, remember, even not getting to Hollywood Week, there were, I think I read it was like 100,000 people auditioned for the season. That's insane to get down to the.
I think it was more. Actually.
More. Wow.
Yeah. I think it's around 220,000.
Jesus, man. Well, so there you go. I mean, I probably somewhere between 200 and 300 people made it to the auditions in LA and Austin and Nashville, and that's a big deal.
About 50 for each city, actually. So
okay.
At least those are what the usual numbers are. But
right.
You're absolutely right, and it's good. It's kind of nice to think about the numbers, like, oh, it's cool to be. But when it comes down to it, it's whether or not you have something that the world needs to see, right?
Yeah.
So if the producers don't think you're ready yet, then you definitely aren't.
Right.
If the judges don't, then you still aren't.
Yeah.
It's not any less, right? Like I said, music is subjective, but what's not subjective is the fact that I needed to have a better growth mindset. It's not like I'm saying this as if I had like a bad, like I was like saying bad thing. I was not at all. Internally, I'm just to be very clear.
Yeah.
Internally, I needed more time.
Yeah.
and I needed to grow more, and I still need to grow more. That's a big part of it. But yeah, so that again, very, very important part of that too.
You took some time. I mean, it wasn't you admit that it wasn't an instantaneous, okay, I'm going to get back up, I'm going to keep going. But now that you've gotten to that point, it's very, I feel like as emotional as performing is and as artistry is, you've been able to take a very sort of, I guess, I don't know if logical is the right word, but sort of think about the entire process, not just the numbers, but for you and your well-being. It's good that this happened. It's good that you got that no, because even if you're watching American Idol and not seeing yourself on the show, you're probably doing things that are going to better yourself, so that if you were to go back to that show, or you were to go to another show, or you were going to do something completely different, again, different from television, you're probably happy. You probably feel just satisfied, if I had to guess.
Absolutely. And if there's one of the things that will make the best TV is growth.
Yeah.
Because viewers love to see that, because that is a sign of a real person who actually took the initiative to grow from their took the initiative to fail forward, as Will Smith says. I like that quote. But I mean, so many people that have auditioned for American Idol are probably not going to audition again. And so many people audition like 6 times on the Zoom and don't make it through. So I remember that I was like lucky. I made it the first time at 17 years old. I got to try this again.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a mistake not to, right?
Yeah.
Because there were parts I enjoyed, and I just wasn't, if I do this again, I actually have more of myself to bring to reality TV. I have more reality to bring to reality TV.
Yeah.
Which is another really important thing people should know.
Well, I think that only adds to what I was saying about how you've taken such a logical approach, because I don't know how easy it is to necessarily prepare yourself to go on reality TV. And like you said, you didn't know what you were getting yourself into the first time, but if you should go back, you would have that much more of an idea of what you are getting yourself into, while knowing that you would still learn even more a second time or a third time. Let's say you go back to American Idol, you make it to the voting rounds, and then all of a sudden it's not only is it in the judges' hands, it's in America's hands. Imagine subjecting yourself to the American public, and then depending how far you get based on the viewers voting, that could be a really interesting experience, because if you were to win, you'd know that people, liked you every round. If you were to get voted off at a certain point, you would step back. You would analyze your performances, I imagine, and think, okay, what could I have done better? Why did people not connect with this? And I would guess that would also be an interesting experiment should you go back and make it farther.
Yeah. Absolutely. And on a similar note there, like I said, bringing more reality to it, because I often find, and after auditioning for American Idol, a lot of people put on a fake smile. And I'm not pointing out anyone's names, just in general. I was in Los Angeles, right? That is the television and movie production land right there. So I was seeing a lot of people around me that were putting on different faces and different smiles. Mm-hmm. And that's another important thing. I'm not changing anything about myself. I just had to find myself and lock that down. And I'm now going to continue to be myself. I'm starting to figure out what my thing is. And my thing is not having a thing, right? That allows so much more freedom.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the last thing I'd ever do is put on a fake smile, right? Because the public can see that more. So if I ever find myself in the fortunate position of some kind of voting round on a show, I'm never gonna have 1 ounce of fake to me. Everything has to be genuine, because there's no point if you're not, because then you're just it's lying.
Yeah.
And that's not lying to the public. I mean, depends. Lying to yourself, that's even worse. So if I ever do end up doing that again, I'm going to continue to just be myself. And if myself isn't it, then I'll find another way. But at the same time, shows like this, and this is another thing I'd love to touch on. Shows like this, like The Voice, American Idol, American Song Contest, they take artists and propel them. They take them from here and go to here. The usual path for an artist, let's say like artists like Elton John and Billy Joel, they started here. They made albums the hard way, and they continued going. One of my friends, Shia Mazel, who auditioned with me on American Idol, super nice guy. He came there. He had like 360,000 followers. He's an EDM artist, and he's crazy. He just hit 2 million listeners on Spotify. He came to American Idol and did make it through, but he has makes some crazy music, and it's awesome. I don't even like EDM, and I like his music, right? He's a real guy making real music, and he did that the hard way. He lived with his with his mom for a while, who's also a wonderful lady, so sweet, and he made his own success. He made his music, right? He's dealing with Spotify, and Spotify, that's a whole other thing. Making music on there is really hard. Or at least making a living off making music on there. So that's another thing is while I'll have these auditions, I'm going to try another show. I won't say yet. I'm going to try another show freshman year of college, which is next year, this fall. Even though I'm doing that, I want to have two goals here. One is to continue to try and make that progress like this, and the other one is to make progress where I can just maybe give that a shot, because why not? But at the same time, you're going to end up here. And no matter what, if I go the hard way, make my own music and end up going there, or if I just do like American Idol or something, I'm still going to be myself if I ever get here. That's the important thing. And that's why I'm going to continue to try both, right? By means of college, by means of auditioning for the shows again.
The industry has changed exponentially since American Idol began 20 years ago. I think if anything, the fact that we just finished this 20th anniversary season, it's worth thinking about the fact that we were in a different world when it came to the music industry back when it started. Because back when it started, winning was the name of the game. Winning American Idol, let's be real here, was really the main way to become successful, and you needed to become Kelly Clarkson or Carrie Underwood to make an impact on the music industry. Then, things got a little bit different. You started having Chris Daughtry, Adam Lambert, where you didn't necessarily have to win, Jennifer Hudson. And then streaming came along, and I think that's why you mentioned your friend, because artists have been able to pave their own paths and find their own following without needing a television audience to do so. And you're seeing that you can have somebody win American Idol and not necessarily have the same level of success after the show, and somebody didn't make it past the auditions that same season, goes on, has 5, 10, maybe 20 million streams. So, I think that that's why it's important to remember that, not to say that American Idol still does not give people opportunities to change their lives. Really, it is about that platform. Whether you make it to top 3 or you win or you don't even get aired, it's about the experience and the exposure, because there's so many other ways without, making it all the way to the end. And I think that that's why, if anything, it's probably comforting for an artist to realize that they don't need to win to be successful.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
For you, you're only thinking about what's next. Like you said, you just laid out your plan. You just laid out what the rest of the year is going to look like for you. You're already thinking way ahead. And I want to hear more about you as an artist, because we talked about it at the beginning, but you're actually going to perform for us, because I want to actually get to hear this sound that's this do your own thing kind of indescribable genre. So can you talk to us about what you're going to be doing for us today?
Sure. So the way I found the things I like to do is finding different colors in my voice. And that stemmed from doing musical theater, jazz, pop, rock, whatnot. And my problem for a while was trying to be like other artists, or forcing myself too much. And with a lot of help and a lot of guidance, I'm still working on this, obviously, I've been able to center my voice and have it have different colors, but in a healthy way. So what I'm going to do today is going to be more pop, but lots of jazz influence on the piano, because that's what I'm going into for college, jazz piano studies. And it's kind of a little mix of both. And it's a little Jacob Collier-y, because that's an artist I take inspiration from, but it's also my own thing. I'll do probably a little improv verse of just my own improvisation. So it'll be a mix of some stuff.
All right. Well, whenever you're ready, take it away.
You don't know, babe, when you hold me and kiss me slowly, yeah, it's the sweetest thing. And it don't change if I had it my way. You would know that you're the coffee that I need in the morning. You're my sunshine in the rain when it's pouring. Won't you give yourself to me? I'll give it all. I just wanna see how beautiful you are. You will know that I see it. I know you're a star. Where you go, I follow. No matter how far. If life is a movie, then you're the best part. Whoa, 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 you're the best part. Whoa, 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 you're the best part. All right, so this tune is called Best Part by Daniel Caesar and Her. All right, let's do that. It's the sunrise and those brown eyes, yeah. You're the one that I desire. When we wake up and then we make love, and it makes me feel so nice. You're my water when I'm stuck in the desert. You're the Tylenol I take when my head hurts. You're the sunshine of my life. If you love me, won't you say something? Love me, won't you? Oh, love me, won't you say something? Love me, won't you? Love me, won't you? If you love me, won't you say something? Love me, won't you? Love me, won't you? If you love me, won't you say something? Love me, won't you? Love me, won't you? If you love me, won't you say something? If you love me, won't you? Love me, won't you? Love me, won't you? If you love me, won't you say something? Love me, won't you? Love me, won't you? Let's take some improv. Love me, won't you say something? Love me, won't you? Oh, love me, won't you say something?
Excellent, man. I love that arrangement, dude. I didn't know it was gonna be best part, because I hear this song a lot, and then I figured it out. Very good. That was awesome.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So Man, so that's great because now I got to hear what this sort of indescribable genre, if you will, is that is Lucas West. And I think my guess would be that you're going to continue to kind of figure out what that is, and it's going to evolve as you evolve as an artist, right? Like it's not the kind of thing. Do you ever land as an artist, or are you always kind of looking to evolve your and add more to your sound and make things unique and change things?
Always,
Yeah,
always, because that's what you have to do.
yeah,
It's really hard to make it. It's nearly impossible to make it as a one lane musician.
yeah,
Being able to adapt and do a lot of things. That's why, for example, uh, um, Phantom of the Opera, like that kind of thing.
sure,
Sing once again with me, a strange duet. It's completely different.
yeah.
And then you want to be able to take that and switch to like rock. I remember when rock was young. But you want to be able to take that and be versatile. Versatility is the bottom line here, is basically what I'm saying.
And I think that's why the names that come to mind, I'm thinking about like Elton John. I'm even thinking about Freddie Mercury. I'm thinking about like the versatility because you can have like that's what showmanship is. You can have somebody who is an entertainer because they can be a balladeer, but then they can totally move around on stage and belt all the high notes. And it sounds like that's what you're shooting for, man. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where this journey takes you. And I'm also curious about what's in store for you besides, whether it's going out for other shows or going to college, but any original music on the way, anything you're working on just project wise?
Honestly, nothing original because being in high school, there's a lot of things I'm doing. Like I'm in a show choir. I teach lessons. I'm a karate sensei. I do a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of things in high school. Once I get to college, I'll be able to focus really zero in on music. And I think where I'm happiest is probably the stage, meaning musical theater, because I can take this. In like, for example, in the jazz field, my ambitions right now are kind of this. I'm going to SUNY Fredonia, for jazz studies and probably a dual major in music ed to be safe and smart, and use the money wisely.
Sure.
But I want to probably end up on the stage because being on the stage and having the skills to like do impressions, which is I occasionally like to do impressions too. Being able to do those and be versatile and have all these skills in your back pocket will benefit you on stage, because that is like what storytelling is. When you're on the stage, everything's big. You're creating a story, and that's what's important to me, because I can take that. If La La Land goes on Broadway, I'm 100% auditioning for that. Like a live jazz pianist and I guess jazz singer, that is 100% that kind of thing, is because that's having that ability is gonna make you different, right? There's a million musical theater tenors out there, right? There's so many. Finding what I can bring to the table and take and make my own thing is gonna in the long run help me be a versatile performer that's gonna be marketable and then be ready for anything.
I find it interesting because I've yet to talk to someone who is that adamant about not doing their own thing, which is like totally okay. And I think it's interesting because I feel that maybe today so many artists are very much thinking that the way to go to set yourself apart is to say, I can write my own songs, but you can actually maybe do your own thing without necessarily composing your own music. You can find your own artistry within somebody else's material and then, develop your own career and set yourself apart without necessarily, being a composer.
Yeah, precisely. And a good way to put this is like, if I was just like a jazz singer, I didn't do anything else. If I'm like really good at jazz vocals, and there's like an audience of people, although their eyes are open, their eyes to what they're seeing me perform are only this open. Because they're seeing one thing. What's going to spread, and there's so many people that do one thing. What's going to truly open the eyes of everyone is doing a bunch of things that people are like, wow, I didn't know that could go together. Yeah. It's like grapes. Grapes are good. Cheese is good. Grapes and cheese are also like really good. It's that sort of thing, and that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's combining things,
right,
and bringing something completely different, because it's going to surprise people, intrigue their interest, and be like, oh, I didn't know I liked that. So
Yeah, totally. I just want to say, man, it's really been a pleasure to talk to you and to get to know you and to hear your perspectives, because I truly feel like what you've gained from doing American Idol is, and also for your age, I mean, it's really remarkable that, before even going off to college, you've gotten all this insight and you haven't even made it to Hollywood Week yet. And I say yet because whether you're on this show again or you're on a different show or you're, on Broadway however many years from now, it just, we don't know what's in store for you, but the growth mindset means that you're on your way to doing something amazing, many things that are amazing. So it really has been a pleasure. And just to wrap up here, Lucas, I mean, is there anything, any takeaways in general from doing American Idol, whether it's any people you met or any memories or just anything from watching this season that you want to look back on, reflect on?
I'd say not forgetting who you are, but also being malleable to growth, because you're not going to make any progress if you are not in the mindset to make progress. That's the bottom line. Is if you're doing something like this, you have to find what truly is you and do that. You don't want to think what's good for the camera, what's good for the judges. Go in there and do the music you like to do and be the person you want to be, or the person you are, I should say. Mm-hmm. Not the person you think they want to be. Don't be the person you think you want to be. Just be who you know you are, because that's all you can do. If you're not doing that, you're doing something really wrong. Mm-hmm. And there's just no healthy way to go about that.
What you just said is a literal example of your growth mindset, because you said to me in the beginning that you were so focused on getting those judges to like you, and now you can say with full confidence, don't worry about what they think. Not that you don't respect them and their opinions, but go in there knowing who you are and not what somebody else wants you to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So in just a second, we're going to give you a chance to plug all the socials, anything that you want to promote. Really quickly, though, guys, if you like this podcast, you like this conversation, here's what you got to do. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please subscribe so that you don't miss a note of American Idol Unaired. You can also subscribe on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure that you leave a review if you can, depending on the app, and you rate however many stars you want. You can also watch these interviews on YouTube. Just type in American Idol Unaired. You will find all the conversations, and be sure to follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Idol Unaired Podcast. And Lucas, please tell everybody where they can follow you to stay tuned on your journey.
Absolutely. I'd say Instagram is your best bet. It's going to be Lucas_Michael_West. So Lucas_Michael_West. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk to anyone. I love talking to people. It's fun.
Yes, it is fun. I like talking too. I love talking to you. This has been a pleasure. Lucas, thank you so much for being on American Idol